Good evening, everyone. A very good evening, all of you. Good evening, good evening. A very good evening, everyone. Let's begin with our growth and development class. This is class number 2, and today we are going to talk about developmental indices. Okay. I know it has been a hectic day for you all, but this is the last class for today. And so let's concentrate and put all our energies into it so that we can get the maximum out of this 1 hour. And let's understand the concepts and let's make this very interactive today, because development indices are actually very very important for you all. They give you not just information about countries performance or countries economic and socio-economic performance, but it also tells us about the growth trajectory and the development trajectory, right? So today we are going to discuss a couple of such indices which are very very important for knowing, for understanding. Okay. They're very important from the point of view of policy making. Okay, so when you become an economics officer, you would get a designation of an economist, and you are also going to be given different areas and departments. Okay, different wings. Every 6 to 8 months you will get a different wing for policy making, and in which you will not just update existing policies but also work on new upcoming policies related to development. And of course development is one angle associated, but development of course comes with a lot of other things in terms of parameters and indices. Okay, so today we are going to talk about all of those different indices, right? Let's begin. Okay, so I hope that you all did some homework and read some of the pages that I mentioned to you all from the book that was uploaded on the weekend. Okay, if you have not done it yet, I saw some of you have also written some answers to be evaluated. So I'm also going to evaluate it today in terms of environmental economics. And so I've given you a book. Okay, it is by Michael Todaro. It's a very very interesting and a very nice book for development. Okay, apart from this book you can use any other book as well according to your comfort level. You can use notes, you can use soft copy notes, anything, but this is a book which will give you a very interesting angle and a very large basis of content that you can write. There are certain quotations in the book given by different economists. There are certain theories of which the content is very interesting. Introduction pieces are very interesting. So what you can do is you can start making those content pieces, putting it in your answer. Okay, PPT is just for you to browse through your concepts quickly, but from the book you're actually going to get some interesting concepts which are going to give you some fodder to write, right? So which is why that book is very important for you all. Okay, go ahead and learn from it, passively read it. Okay, 1 or 2 3 pages a day Sometimes there are repetitions, so you can skip it also. But what you need to do is whatever is there in your syllabus, of growth and development, at least try and cover all of those areas, especially the general ones, okay, not related to a specific theory or model. The general areas, something related to growth and development, something related to classical thought of development, something related to some unknown theories that you must have not studied anywhere, like the dependency theory, okay, or something related to capabilities approach. Find this in the index page and try reading it, okay, so that when I put it across you, when we deal with it, it's going to be like a revision for you, okay, and it's going to make the concept stronger. Why I'm telling you all of these things is because I don't want you to waste your time in 2025 revising growth and development module for 1 month. There are many students who have wasted a lot of time for this particular module. I don't want you all to be doing that. I want you all to do smart study and wrap up this module in this year only. Complete recollection, revision, everything, note making, everything should be completed by this month. Next year should be kept for something very important, very absolutely important, which is your writing practice, new answers, PYQs, all of those things. Okay, if you do this, it'll just help you. Okay, if you don't do this and linger this module, it's just going to waste your time, the necessary time that you should give to some other very important topic like microeconomics, or a lengthy one like macroeconomics, right? Okay, so yeah, now human development index, will start from here. I told you all about Amartya Sen and Mehboobul Haq yesterday, right? And day before yesterday. And what did I tell you? That Amartya Sen, Professor Amartya Sen and Mehboobul Haq, both of these economists are renowned and have worked for welfare. Okay, they have consistently, rigorously worked for welfare. And in the year 1990, they developed something which we know as the Human Development Index, along with other economists in their team. They developed this Human Development Index. Okay. Now, when we talk about Human Development Index, we say that it's a very important index. Okay, although we know that Human Development Index is not the only developmental index. Okay, and there are so many others as well. But why this one is considered to be such an important one? The reason is simple, because it is the landmark developmental indice which has given us the foundation of from where should we start, from where should we begin with the thought of development. Okay, so which is why this one is very important, right? When you get a question, so usually question कैसे आता है? Obviously you'll not get a question explain HDI, ऐसा तो नहीं आएगा. You'll always have a question of index in comparison to some other indice. Okay, or you may get something like why Human Development Index does not include these indicators. Okay, only health, knowledge, and standard of living. There's so many other indicators also. Okay, or why environment is not there. So to write that, you should first know the basics. Ki bhai, Human Development Index, when it originated, it was like a landmark decision or a landmark introduction to something in the field of developmental economics, right? Now it has 3 indices: health, knowledge, and standard of living. Health, knowledge, and standard of living are the 3 important pillars also of development. Okay, under health we consider all the different things that are important for human life, and we look at from the point of view of life expectancy index. So this is your health indicator. Health indicator is what? Life expectancy index. Now, of course, according to demography or demographic studies, apart from life expectancy index, there are many other things that you may consider. But life expectancy index is the grassroots index, which talks about the birth and the death rate and how much an individual is expected to live. Okay, so expectation to be alive is something that is related to health. Someone who is healthy and who has a nutrition oriented body is expected to live more. Okay, apart from the externalities that may occur, but that person is expected to live more, right? And vice versa. So which is why life expectancy index is a very important indicator to showcase health. Then knowledge. Now knowledge, again, because we are talking from the point of view of welfare, and there's a lot of debate around this. Okay, why schooling is taken. There are certain economists who usually debate around this concept that in education index, why schooling is taken. We should take something, we are developing, so there should be some important indicators like how far a person has studied or how far off the person has studied, basically how much they have studied, what type of formal education they have taken, PhD, post PhD, or etc etc, क्योंकि उसका मतलब development होगा ना. But here these two economists, like I told you, have worked for welfare or worked in the welfare studies. So their point of view is very simple, that Human Development Index should be inclusive of all. And by all, we do not mean just people who are living in India, but people who are living in the different countries and continents abroad, okay, and who may be at a worse stage of development than India. So the parameters are decided not from the basis of Indian context. कि अरे स्कूल की बात क्यों कर रहे हैं हम यहाँ पे? No, these are developed under the United Nations Developmental Program, which caters to around 193 countries, out of which some are very, very poor countries. We are middle income countries. We come under middle income countries. But then there are low income countries also, right? So we need to also look at the parameters from the basis of whether it will suit everyone out of those 193 countries or not. That's why it is an inclusive index. Okay? And that's why the sheer basic education, which caters to mean years of schooling and expected years of schooling. How many on an average years of schooling a person would do, and how many years of schooling are expected out of a person or out of a child when they register for a formal education in a school. That comprises of the education index. And then finally we have standard of living. Standard of living का भी simple rule लिखा है, thought from income index. Okay, the per capita national income, per capita income will be your indicator of standard of living. अब वो चाहते तो वो बहुत कुछ लिख सकते थे. They could have added assets, they could have added wealth, but they haven't done so. Only income is the basic. Why? Because earning income also for many people is a hard I'm really sorry, is a very hard concept. Okay, and which is why assets and wealth come very late. Okay, it's only for a few fraction of few percentage of people, of population, right? So human development index is a landmark index. Secondly, it is inclusive index, and that's why all the indicators that have been kept are very basic to all the different countries that the HDI is catering to, right? Now when we talk from the point of view of ranking, अब इसमें क्या आपको देखना है? What is the thing that you need to also learn or also see and write is the rank. Okay, rank of India and neighbors. Okay, and rank of India in BRICS. Okay, BRICS, constitution of countries, and India and neighbors, neighboring countries. So this is the research that you need to do. Presently, India has a 134th rank out of 193 countries. Okay, so it has slipped also. It was 131 2-3 years ago, but then it slipped, and right now it has not recovered. What I've studied about. Actually, post COVID, India's rank actually slipped. By that time, we were doing very well, pretty well. We had come to a position of 130th rank also, I guess. But then, because of the problems during pandemic, the development was jeopardized, obviously, of the country at many levels. And to bring that all back, we have gone down 4 ranks. Okay, and now we are at 134th rank, most probably, right? So this is something that you need to research and write down in your register so that you can read it later. Okay, then the next one that we are talking about is inequality adjusted HDI. Okay, now this is again something that I was talking about, of how questions may appear. Inequality adjusted HDI. We all learned about HDI, but what is inequality adjusted HDI? Exactly like we studied about the SNA and green GDP concept. Okay. IHDI is basically when we are also considering some factors or some parameters which reflect inequality. So when we put those parameters and we reduce the value of the inequality, whatever it would be, from the HDI figure, then we receive IHDI figure. Okay. Usually the inequality adjusted index or HDI is not really presented every year. Okay. Because it also, for developing countries and underdeveloped countries, this index actually is going to show a very disturbing picture of any economy for that matter, right? And which is why it is not going to be glorified. It is not going to be presented in most of the documents, right? Riya saying, please repeat this again. Okay. Inequality adjusted HDI. Okay. What are we looking at over here? We are looking at the health, education, and income as far as HDI is considered. Okay. But we are also looking at those parameters which represent inequality. Okay. That represent inequality. So what we are going to do? We are going to take out the difference between the inequality adjusted HDI and HDI, okay, so that we know what is the cost of inequality. Okay, cost of inequality, which is also called as what? The overall loss to human development due to inequality. Now, how will this cost of inequality appear? ये कैसे आएगा? How will the parameters be showcased? So when we say that we need to understand the parameters, there are no standardized parameters, but we can talk about poverty, we can talk about non-inclusion or non-inclusivity. Okay, we can talk about different types of inequalities. What type of inequality? Inequality of any kind. Okay, it's not specific. This is it's not like a standardized index. Okay, it's a concept, because for every country inequality will be a different type, right? Kahin pe social inequality zyada hoga, somewhere income inequality will be more, somewhere gender inequality will be there. Are you understanding my point? All of these things are related to inequality only. Somewhere financial inequalities will be there. So whatever inequalities are present, we count the cost of that inequality according to some parameters. Okay, and then we adjust it. But it will differ for different countries. That's why there's no standardized formula for this. It's just a concept, so that we understand that, okay, if there are some inequalities present in the country, if we adjust it with the existing HDI figure, we will reach a realistic human development index, which will be obviously lower than the already existing rank of the country. Are you understanding my point? Yes? Got this? All of y'all? Similar to this, you also have something known as planetary pressures adjusted HDI. Okay? Planetary pressure adjusted HDI. Now, what is this? Again, a similar concept जो IHDI में पढ़ा था. Similar to that, we have something, some figure of HDI. Now we have to understand the cost of planetary pressures. Planetary pressures can go from from environmental inequality to climate change problems to deforestation to agricultural land becoming barren, okay, to soil salination, to whatever planetary pressures have been exerted by an economy. Okay, again, this is also going to be different for different countries. हर country का planetary pressure अलग होगा, obviously, right? So which is why this again is going to give you a closer picture of the economy with reference to environmental consequences. Okay, yes. Yeah, on what basis India measures this? So, like I told you all, these indices are not standardized, okay? Not neither for our country nor for any other country. So it's exactly like, do we want to calculate it? And very practically we are saying it. We calculate it, but these figures are not presented. Okay. See, HDI is something which is commonly surveyed by UN body, UNDP, and it has to be given out transparently. But this is something that a country can measure on its own, because these figures, if are out, let's say inequality adjusted HDI, through this figure we we showcase our country's picture to be very, very shrewd and very, very problematic. Okay. It will be not good economically. And that's why these figures and the standardization depends on country to country, and these figures are usually generated only to check levels of human development index or development only at the policy level. Okay, so there's no standardization, but the concept remains to be very, very important for us. But the depiction or the presentation of such figures usually does not happen, because let's say, for example, what happened after the global hunger index report came out, and India's poverty and malnutrition was highlighted for the whole, for all the countries, in front of all the countries. It put a very, very bad image and a very bad picture of India in the whole world. Okay, why? Because the articles that were written were from the point of view of a developed nation. Okay, all these articles were written by developed nation journalists only. So they were written from the point of view कि अरे इतना malnutrition है and इतना है वैसा है ऐसा है. We know that malnutrition is a problem. We know that it has been a problem for us. So the articles were written from a very bad context, so that they could showcase India in a bad light. कि यहाँ तो इतनी गरीबी है, यहाँ इन्वेस्टमेंट करने से कोई फायदा नहीं है, sort of, right? So which is why we have to be, now again, global hunger index you cannot avoid, countries cannot avoid, because it's again done by UN. So you cannot avoid it to be presented. You only can look at the consequences and look at the impact. But for these different concepts, we can do some hidden work, basically, right? So this is how it is. Okay. Then we talk about another very important one, which is multi-dimensional poverty index. Okay, multi-dimensional poverty index. Now, what is this multi-dimensional poverty index? Initially, there was a concept called as human poverty index. Okay, however, poverty, and in the human poverty index, the poverty was showcased as an indicator of income. Okay, it means it had correlates with income. So if the income is low, and it's so low that it goes below a certain threshold, then there's going to be poverty. That was the concept. But in the year 2010, okay, the multi-dimensional poverty index was framed by Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, OPHI, okay, and UNDP, of course. Now, like the name suggests, it does not only depend on income, but there are other dimensions as well which were found out, that poverty is not an indicator, or income is not the indicator, or is not the sole indicator of poverty. Actually, there are other dimensions as well. Okay, so what are the dimensions now? The dimensions are these. So there are 10 indicators, okay, which are spread across the 3 basic dimensions, okay, of development. The 3 dimensions are health, education, and standard of living. And to understand poverty, we have divided these dimensions in 10 indicators. Okay. So here, what do we look at? We look at, if you're talking about health, then we look at 2 things. We look at nutrition, whether the child has nutrition, whether the child, what is the child mortality? Okay, mortality. what's the rate of nutrition, and what's child mortality. Okay, then for education, we look at the years of schooling and school attendance. Okay, in terms of, now look at poverty, we are looking at poverty, so we need to understand that why students are not going beyond 5th standard or beyond 8th standard, why their school attendance is being low. If there is free education in government schools, then why school attendance is low? Are there any uh, issues with regards to their attendance? Yes, because if this child of the a 5th standard or an 8th standard child is going to not attend the school, they will have ample amount of time to do some odd jobs, which will reduce their poverty of how people assume, right? How poor, how people living in poverty are going to assume that instead of sending them to school, and check for their education, check for their schooling years, attendance, etc., if rather they send them to odd jobs, into learning things, into learning how to do odd jobs with themselves, they will at least start earning, and that's how they think. Okay, so again, this is another parameter. And then for living standard, we have 6 indicators. Okay, what type of cooking fuel is being used? Is wood being used? Is coal being used? Is gas being used? LPG being used? Kerosene being used? Cooking fuel will tell us the type of poverty or the level of poverty they are in. Then sanitation, whether they have a properly made sanitation area or not. Okay, now if you look at the sanitation program that was started in, I think, 2015. Okay, jahan soch wahan shauchalay, right? And that whole campaign thing, can you now relate it to how we had to uh, make our issue, one of the very grave issues of sanitation, better? Okay, so it's not the campaign was not directed to eradicate poverty, but the campaign was to make people aware about things. Okay, so again, then clean water, electricity, floor, pakka house, kacha house, assets, what type of appliances they have. Okay, do they have any appliances? What type? First hand or second hand? All of these things. So all of these things are very, very important indicators of the poverty index. Okay. Now, something that you should note over here is that this line, multidimensional poverty is made up of several factors that constitute poor people's experience of deprivation. Okay, deprivation मतलब क्या होता है? Deprivation, when you are deprived of something, someone has not received something, that is deprivation. So when people living in poverty are deprived of what all things which are making them poor, this index is of that nature. Okay, so it is a negative index. Negative index means what? That multidimensional poverty index, if indicates 0%, so 0% indicates no deprivation. मतलब सब बढ़िया है. They are receiving everything. All the 10 indicators are good. While towards 100% will indicate deprivation. Okay, so 100% means more deprivation, more poverty, while towards 0% will mean what? Less deprivation, less poverty. Okay, so that That is what is this multidimensional poverty index. Did you all understand this one properly? Yes, understood. Now, another one is gender inequality index. Okay, now it's very similar to the the above ones that we did. Okay, again related to inequality. Okay, like I told you all that what are the different types of inequality. Usually, one question, usually this type of questions do not land up. Okay, but gender inequality index in general, you should know what exactly it is talking about. Okay, so it was introduced in the Human Development Report in the year 2011. Okay, and there are three dimensions, critical dimensions for women: reproductive health, empowerment, and labor market participation. Okay, now because of the advent of the third gender, or I would not say advent of, but because of the awareness of the third gender, and then similar to this, many other things, this index has stepped down a bit. Okay, couple of years ago, this index used to be a talk of the town in terms of people used to write papers, working papers were written on this. But since the time where gender based so many awareness campaigns have started off, there are more things related to inequality in terms of gender inequality index. However, physiologically, we consider only two genders and a third gender. And from this point of view, the gender inequality index presently only talks about two genders, male and female. And which is why the three dimensions run around women and their reproductive health, their empowerment, and their labor market participation, or the participation in the workforce, basically. Okay, labor market participation matlab participation in the workforce, right? So what has been the present scenario or the recent scenario in terms of work that has been received by women, the type of empowerment that has been received by women, all of these things are a part of that. Okay, so this index measures the extent of gender based gaps. What is the gap in opportunity? Okay, not physiologically, but in terms of opportunity for males and females. Okay, and how to make the economic participation equal for both the genders is the main aim, right? The scale is 0 to 1. 0 indicates equality between men and women, and when you go towards 1, it indicates that women are poorly measured, or they are faring poorly in the measurement. Okay, which means that there is inequality with respect to women, right? Now there are certain ranks over here, but a major concept or a major recognition that India received for the country itself is that it could close about 62% of the gender gap till date, till now. So there was a huge amount of gender gap in terms of our country, which we have closed through awareness, education, opportunities, communication, and so many other things. Even female enterprise, market participation, or workforce participation, all of the things. Okay, so we have closed it. And so there are so many things that are happening around it. And yeah, that's what is gender inequality index for now. Okay, when I told you about the third gender and the other things around it, what I mean to say is that you do not have to write all of these things. It's something that comes from my mind, that you all already know about, and we are talking about it since last, I think, 5 4 5 years. Okay, but the gender inequality index, this index has not been updated since then, because still there are a lot of taboos around the context. There are a lot of complexities, and there are a lot of there are a lot of channels to insult people as well. So which is why, although the concept of third gender has been introduced in so many forms, and opportunities are being given, etc., but for that person to come to that stage and get recognition is something which is still looked down upon, in on many levels, not just in our country but many other countries, right? So which is why we take from this index only the concept that has been presented right now. Okay, understood? Now here it has also been presented more in detail. Okay, we talked about the three dimensions: reproductive health, empowerment, and labor market participation. Okay, so it has been divided into 5 parts or 5 indicators. Maternal mortality, okay, how many months or years the mother or the reproductive person lives. Adolescent fertility, how fertile is the young female, that counts for reproductive health. And of course you can say from the interception itself that it's related to all women oriented aspects. Then empowerment, parliamentary participation, and educational attainment, okay, whatever level of education has been attained. And labor force participation or workforce participation rate. So these are the concepts in detail, right? Then there is another one, PQLI, the Physical Quality of Life Index. Okay, this is another important transition into a development index. PQLI, developed by the Overseas Development Council, okay, was developed by Morris David Morris. He has been known to be a very important economist in the UN forum. Okay, Morris. Okay, and this index was created because we could understand that GDP or GNP is not giving the full-fledged indicator of development. So to deviate it from there, from like I told you in the basic concepts, that initially, traditionally, we only looked at GNP and GDP for growth and development, but gradually, when we talk from the modern economic point of view, we say that the GDP aggregates are relating to growth. But when we talk about development, the one of the first indicators that was developed around development process was physical quality of life index. Okay, so it measures what the quality of life or well-being of a country, which is based on 3 dimensions: literacy rate, infant mortality, life expectancy at age 1. Okay, so these are the 3 important dimensions. Okay, now the dimensions also have been given in little detail of what all things are included in the quality of life. Okay, for example, if we are talking about from the point of view of quality of life, there are 3 things that we are looking at. if we talk from the point of view of functionality, okay, this is like the backbone of physical quality of life index. Okay, backbone, or on the basis of what the PQLI index has been formed. Okay, so if we talk from the point of view of functionality, how does a person function, how does an individual function? So there is physical functioning, psychological functioning, and spiritual functioning. Okay, physical functioning means what? The physiological, health, hygiene, nutrition, mobility, etc. Psychological means mental well-being, adaptation to cognitive functionality, how well your mind is alert, how much pressure can you take. Okay, what's the role of self esteem, self control in your life? Are you always agitated or always calm and composed, and what makes you calm and composed? Functionality. And spiritual, personal values and ethics that you have, your personal attitude. What do you have a baggage of agitation? Do you have a baggage of anger or tantrums? Do you have temper tantrums, that if small uncomfort, small things are uncomfortable for you, you know, someday electricity is not there, so you are throwing a huge tantrum that, oh, today electricity is not there, my whole life is shut down, I'll not do anything, I'll just sleep, or I'll just go to the mall. So you don't have anything better to do. Or else, if you know some slight inconvenience has taken place, what is the baggage that you're taking, or is there no baggage, and you are following a certain attitude that, all right, there's a slight inconvenience, but it's going to pass. So what's your behavioral standards? That's what is functionality. Talks a lot about quality of life. Okay, then second is environment and affiliations. Then what do we say? Again, it's on physical level, psychological level, and community level. So how well a person is connected to environment, their own environment. Okay, environment का मतलब सिर्फ environment greenery नहीं होता है. Environment means how alert a person is, how alert an individual is. On physical level, where are they living? What is the work that they are doing? What is the education level that they have? What is the type of environment that they are living in? What is the neighborhood like? Psychological level pe, what are the family, friends, peers, colleagues, neighbors that a person is connected to? Talks a lot about what are the behavioral functionalities of that person from the group that they are in, right? Community level pe, what is the type of employment, what is the type of income, what are the different types of participation in the education system, participation in cultural and social activities. Some people are really not social at all, right? And they would have very less friends, and they would be very introverted, right? Some would be more interested in community level education, community level cultural and social functions that they could attend or they could lead. Okay, so different personalities, different options, but ultimately what presents you as an individual? Again, quality of life. And thirdly, development of that individual. What are your daily activities? What are your spare time activities? And what are the development and self realization activities? Daily activities means what? Household. What are the things that you do in your household? Okay, do you water your plants? If there are any plants, do you water the plants? Do you keep your surroundings clean? Okay, do you shuffle the carpet, or you know, your furniture here and there? Do you keep your own bookshelf clean, or do you keep your own clothing storage clean? What are the things, what are the activities that you are doing at home? Okay, these activities are important. Okay, looking at your phone is not an activity that you're doing on a household, right? The spare time activities. Apart from this, what are the other things? Do you have any hobbies? Like I've said it so many times in at so many levels that people without hobbies are really dead assets, because they could do so much of their lives, but they have not developed a hobby. And if a person thinks that hobby means only singing, dancing, painting, reading books, then they have seriously not known themselves properly. There's so much, there's so many hobbies that you can really develop and have. There are interests that you can develop and have. Okay, so that again, spare time activities for health, for stress reduction. What do you do? Is there anything that you do, or you give other people stress about it? And development and self realization. Okay, adaptation to change. When once you start developing, you understand that okay, there are things that there are in you which are not good, and if they are not good, then having an ego about it will not solve the purpose of you coming to life. And so adaptation to change is very important. Steps for maintaining and increasing personal competencies and skills. Now, if you look at this index and if you look at HDI, you will find so much deviation, because human development index talks about basic development, but physical quality of life index talks about a development process of an individual, irrespective of at what stage they are in their life. Is it a basic stage, or is it like a already mature stage? This type of development can happen continuously, and that's why this is a very important and a very renowned life index. Okay, right? I'm really sorry. So similar to this context, uh, recently, couple of years ago, there's also another index called as digital quality of life index, DQLI, because of the advent of internet and digital consequences over our lives. We have found that DQLI also is a very important part of our lives now, because our all work is majorly digital. So we need to understand about the infrastructure that is utilized, the internet quality that is used, internet affordability that people have, electronic security that people should ensure, and electronic government or governance. So this is again, it's a developing index. Okay, it's not right now, it's just a recent index that has come out, so it's a developing index. But nonetheless, DQLI is an interesting one, an interesting read. You can read more on it. Okay, ranking wise तो अभी सबका कुछ ना कुछ चल रहा है, so it's, you should not focus more on what rank India or any other country has got with respect to this index, but more so you should not know what exactly this index talks about. Okay, it's going to be a very interesting read. Okay, but again, it's not a very standardized one, so not all countries are using this one. Okay, there are a couple of things that DQLI actually have streamlined, like internet affordability, internet quality, electronic infrastructure in a country, electronic governance and government, and electronic security. Okay, different countries have different standards and ways of measuring these different dimensions, so which is why it's not yet standardized, but it's a good read. It's a good thing to know, right? Understood everyone till here? Yes, till here everything is understandable to you all? And now finally, we have the concept of the gross national happiness index. Okay. Now there's happiness parameter also, and there are similar indices which have come up, which are more standardized. But the gross national happiness index was again a very landmark index which came out, okay, which talked about a lot of different domains which are not related to any index of HDI, okay, any same index of HDI it is not related to, okay. So it talks about psychological well-being, okay, it talks about health in terms of nutrition value, and what you eat in terms of what you grow and what you eat, okay, it's very organic related, okay. Then education is also something that's not only related to literacy rate as given in HDI. Here education domain contains of how well read you are, how much have you read, what all context have you read. We are not only talking about whether you can read, write, and those things, basic things. We are talking on the perspective of how much you have read, what all things have you read. Is education only limited to you of what have you been taught in school and college, or you also consider education that has been given to you across, maybe when you traveled somewhere, maybe when you came across a thief, when maybe someone stole something from you, when you did something by mistake, or when you were punished. What education did you receive that day or that time is also considered education in this domain, which is a very profound level of domain that they have constituted. Then time use. How do you use your time? How do you manage your time? What all things do you do when you are free? Or are you really free? Have you given a chance for yourself to be free? Or you just are vacant? Cultural diversity and resilience. How much adaptive are you? Have you adopted the new age norms? Have you adapted to the cultural diversity that is present? And do you talk about it well to anyone? Do you have you communicated the diversity to any one person even in your life? Do you even know how much diversity is present in the place around you, and what type of diversity? Have you any time researched about the type of diversity that is there? And do you even know these different cultural terms, languages that are spoken, the habits, mannerisms, folk art? Do you know about this? Good governance, ethics, norms, ethical way of conduct. What are your standards of ethics and values? Community vitality. What is the conduct of your community? How are you leading your community? And are you making them aware about things? Or are they making you aware about things? Ecological diversity and resilience. Are you the one to throw things on the road, or are you the ones to pick up things which are thrown off the road in the trash box? Which one are you? And what are you teaching others? And standard of living. What is the type of living that falls into a happy place? Is it always that the higher standard of living means happiness? What is your individual happiness? What what will make you happy in a house? What are the areas that are going to make you happy? Why are they making you happy? Are you doing something so that you can make those areas even nicer so that you're always happy. When we talk about gross national happiness index, it's something very different and very, very profound. And which is why there's a lot of things which are done around it. There are a lot of working papers which are written, and people are still writing and researching about it, writing their own thought. And yeah, hopefully in a decade we would get some context in terms of standardization of this index, because maybe very soon everyone is going to require to calm themselves down and find happiness, and try finding happiness in not materialistic things but something um, which is not materialistic. Okay, like reading more, education, awareness, okay, finding more things to do. So, yeah, that's what is gross national happiness index. Okay, it seems practically impossible to gather countrywide survey data on such indices. Accountability seems tough. Then why are these considered so seriously? Because if today these are not considered seriously, maybe 20 years from today you will not have a standardized version of this index or these different indices which have properly made standards and parameters. Do you think that the human development index, when was found in 1990, there were no errors in it? Or was it in the 1990 year that it was not debated around or about? It is now that we consider it as a landmark event, but not in the 1990s when it was introduced. There was a lot of debate around it. Why this index only? Why education, health, and standard of living only? Today we have answers to this, but that time we did not. So, for any index or anything to materialize takes time. And that's why, if an idea has been generated, if we know that the necessity would arise in the next coming years, you don't know how soon or how far along. That's why taking it seriously and start working on it is always a better way to approach it. There's a concept known as research and development. Okay, what do you think people do in this R&D? What do you think R&D is all about? R&D is not about searching about things, it's about research. Something that is already existing, we research it, redo it multiple times, 1,000 times. There are people who have written more than 20 papers, 20 working papers. I don't know how many of you understand the meaning of working paper. It's like a dissertation. More than 20 working papers on same thing, but with different samples, with different conclusions, with different hypotheses. Why? Because when time changes, things change, right? There was a theory given by W. Rostow, 5 stages of economic development. But most of the countries did not follow those 5 stages route. तो क्या कहेंगे अब रोस्टो को? अब जाके शुड बी से टेल रोस्टो दैट आपने जो इंफॉर्मेशन दी थी, थ्योरी दी थी, वो तो बिल्कुल अच्छी नहीं थी. It was waste of time. No, it was a landmark theory because there were some stages which some person came about कि ऐसा होके ऐसा होगा. Maybe exactly those stages did not turn out well, but somewhere in between there are some gray areas where the stages fit. So which is why it was considered and Rostov was revered, right? Happens with everything that starts with something. Nothing materializes in a day. Yes? Right? All right. So these are the different indices that you all should be aware about. Okay. And look it up to find out more on this, on more on the rankings, etc. Right? From tomorrow onward, we are going to start with some basic theories. Okay. That's it for today. All right. I hope you all have learned something today. See you all tomorrow. Bye bye.